There's a new boss in town, and I'm taking you back to the Flix.
What's going on, Flix Fam? And we're back in full force with snipe season. And today we're stepping into the cleanest, weirdest, most sanitized future that the 90s could ever imagine. Demolition Man. This is Stallone versus Snipes in a sci-fi action comedy that somehow predicted cancel culture, corporate dining takeovers, and everyone being just way too sensitive. And I'm gonna break it down scene by scene, so grab your popcorn, your snacks, and your drink, and let's get back to the flicks.
Let's take a trip down memory lane. So hop in the whip, let's ride the wave. Destination set where classics were born. So kick up your feet and grab the popcorn. Blockbuster movies that swept the nation. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification.
Los Angeles, 1996, and the city is burning. Simon Phoenix has taken over a building holding hostages just like it's another Tuesday. Enter John Spartan, the Demolition Man, crashing through walls, taking hits, throwing bodies, and treating property damage like it's just a suggestion. Spartan barrels through the building with pure 90s action hero energy, focused only on stopping Simon Phoenix. But when the dust settles, the building explodes. The hostages are presumed dead, and Spartan is blamed for the reckless endangerment. Phoenix, on the other hand, is smirking the whole time. He knows how to work the system. The trial is quick, cold, and mechanical. Spartan is sentenced not just for the explosion, but for the kind of policing that doesn't fit in anymore. Both men are sentenced to cryogenic prison. This kind of justice isn't loud or dramatic, and that's our first clue as to what's in store for the future. The system isn't interested in context, only control. And right from the start, this movie establishes the character's tone through their actions. Stallone plays John Spartan like a character who's a hammer and every problem is a nail. There's no subtlety, and that's the whole point to Demolition Man. And Wesley Snipes shows up having fun. He never stops grinning in the middle of all that chaos. And that's Phoenix enjoying this game. Simon Phoenix's only agenda is pure anarchy. Toss everything into the blender. Push the on button, pick it up, and then throw it into the wall. And also a fun fact, this movie had one of the last big practical explosions before CGI started taking over. Both Spartan and Phoenix are processed in a cryogenic incarceration. Their bodies are frozen and their minds are reprogrammed. All of the sentences are being carried out in suspended animation. Prison becomes a sleep cycle. No bars, no violence, no human mess, just a system that claims efficiency over rehabilitation. Fast forward to 2032, Los Angeles is now San Angeles. Crime is nearly non-existent. Language is regulated, behavior is modified, physical contact is taboo, even swearing triggers automated fines. The world looks peaceful, pastel architecture, clean air, polite citizens, but beneath the polish, it feels fragile, too perfect and too controlled. The production design here does a lot of heavy lifting. Everything is curved, clean, and bright. It almost feels like a wellness commercial, and that's intentional to show a direct contrast to the 1996 extreme. And notice how calm the pacing becomes. The film wants to slow down to show us just how safe this world is, or at least it appears to be. But all of that calm is about to get wrecked. Simon Phoenix gets stalled for a parole hearing, and the room is full of bureaucrats with no field training. Phoenix wakes up different. His prison condition has uploaded combat knowledge directly into his brain. He disarms the guards with surgical precision. No wasted movement, no hesitation. He escapes into a society that doesn't know what violence feels like. The police scramble politely, then attempt verbal de-escalation. Phoenix laughs them off. This isn't just an escape, it's a lion being released into a petting zoo. The authorities realize they have no one capable of stopping him, so they consider the unthinkable. Saul, the only man who's beaten him before. This is where the movie shifts Phoenix from a crazy villain to a calculated weapon. When he comes out from cryo, he's not just thawed, he's upgraded. New languages, high-level computer access, advanced combat techniques, even tactical data he shouldn't logically have. He understands code, access computer systems, and handles weapons like he's been training for years. And remember, the 2032 citizens have never really seen violence, not on this level. And this movie shows one of the reasons why Wesley Snipes is one of my favorite actors. Watch how the camera moves around him as he moves. He knows what he's doing. It's not random flailing around. This is Wesley preciseness. Not just a great actor, but 100% pure athleticism. And at this time in the 90s, there was only a handful of actors who could pull off that martial arts fluidity with the speed and charisma to make it very believable on screen. There's no close-up camera action here. There's no speeding up the film to make the moves look more fluid. Snipes had the physicality to sell every disarm, every spin, and every strike, and he doesn't look like he's acting. He looks like he's dangerous. So when the SAPD shows up with their verbal command protocols, the bodies start stacking immediately. The system here is built for compliance and Phoenix does not comply, which is why the solution becomes obvious. You don't counter a maniac with manners. You have to counter it with someone just as relentless, because sometimes the only threat to a maniac is a good maniac. Almost 4 decades later, Spartan wakes up in San Angeles, this spotless, corporately clean future where everything is calm, polite, and weirdly fragile. The language and the culture is sanitized, and all behavior is monitored. Spartan tries to get his bearings when he realized his worst nightmare just came true. Before him, Simon Phoenix was thawed. He's informed that Phoenix hits the streets like a virus in a sterile lab, so the system does the one thing it swore it didn't need anymore. It brought Spartan back as a blunt instrument to stop the chaos. This is the part of Demolition Man where the comedic notes hit without the movie having to switch tones. This future is so safe it's basically allergic to conflict. While playing certain notes for laughs, it still keeps the threat real, and the production design does a great job at selling all of this. Everything is clean, bright, in order and control, and then Phoenix shows up like a bull in a china shop, and that premise alone is the engine that drives this entire movie. Spartan gets paired with Lenina Huxley, a future cop who's basically a fan of the past. She read about the old days, but she's never lived them, and that partnership is his bridge between worlds. Spartan is frustrated by how soft everything feels, and Lenina is fascinated by how direct Spartan is. As Phoenix keeps escalating, Spartan keeps running into the future's rules, tickets for swearing, weird social protocols, and a society that thinks manners can replace backbone. Meanwhile, Phoenix isn't adjusting, he's exploiting. Sandra Bullock brings in a ton of personality here. Lenina isn't just his partner, she's the audience's lens. Because for how ridiculous this future is, it's not really meant to be a joke, it's just they're naive. And some of this movie's jokes are still pop culture references today. And the 3 seashells moment just sticks with us because the film never really explains it. So in that, we share the confusion with John Spartan. That's smart writing, just commit to the bit and keep it moving. Spartan tells the officers that Phoenix is heading for a gun, plain and simple, which leads them to the museum. Spartan decides to go in alone to confront him. He reaches a closed section just as it explodes outward from a cannon blast. Phoenix steps into view, and once he realizes Spartan has been thawed out as well, the confrontation immediately turns violent. Gunfire erupts, and the two trade shots as well as verbal jabs as they move through the museum. The fight carries them down into a mid-90s historical display where it becomes hand-to-hand combat. They go blow for blow, fighting the way they always did. Phoenix begins to gain the upper hand, countering Spartan's moves and slipping away from his pursuit. Phoenix escapes upward and out of the museum where he encounters Cocteau. When Phoenix aims his weapon, he realizes that he can't pull the trigger. Cocteau informs him he has another assignment, a man by the name of Edgar Friendly. Spartan arrives in close pursuit, forcing Phoenix to retreat. After the confrontation, Cocteau extends an invitation to Spartan for fine dining at Taco Bell. The museum fight is where the movie fully locks back, loud, physical, and unapologetic, and that mid-90s exhibit turns into a literal arena. This is also where we can see the clear difference between Phoenix and Spartan. Spartan is aggressive and focused, and Phoenix is abrasive and theatrical. He enjoys this. Watching this again, I can tell it's very akin to a Batman and Joker relationship. And the verbal back and forth between the two is like they never missed a day. And to be honest, to them, it hasn't really been that long. And then Phoenix runs into Cocteau. And that moment is subtle, but it's huge. He pulls up the blicky and aims it at Cocteau, but he can't pull the trigger. And that's our first hard proof that something else is controlling him. And Cocteau calmly pivoting around Phoenix lets us know something else. That he's the one who believes he's pulling the strings. You gotta think, Cocteau knows how his world is ran. He knows that everything's on surveillance. So this manipulation in plain sight is kind of an oversight on Cocteau's part. When you get to a level you think you're untouchable. And the tonal shift after Spartan runs Phoenix off and Cocteau invites him to Taco Bell, that's just wow. While Phoenix begins moving on his assignment involving Edgar Friendly, Spartan and Huxley attend dinner with Cocteau. Inside the restaurant, Cocteau explains why San Angeles operates the way it does. No violence, no vice, no instability. Spartan tells him that he remained conscious during his cryogenic sentence and was aware the entire time. During dinner, Spartan notices activity outside that doesn't look right. He excuses himself and steps out the restaurant. Explosions erupt nearby, vehicles carrying food supplies are attacked as raiders emerge from below ground. Chaos spreads across the area. Spartan engages immediately, hand-to-hand combat, disarming attackers, and adding to the destruction. He moves through the scene, neutralizing threats one by one. But as the situation settles, it becomes clear that the raiders are targeting the food shipments, not civilians. Cocteau returns to his office. Phoenix confronts him there. Cocteau provides Phoenix with information connected to other cryogenically frozen criminals and reiterates that Edgar Friendly remains his main target. Spartan now finds himself facing not only Phoenix, but the structure controlling the city itself. White tablecloth, fine dining at a fast food restaurant. The classic music that's playing is old brand jingles. I mean, seriously, how tone deaf and out of touch is this future? Everything and anything at all controversial has been scrubbed out, including the flavor. everything that is except for Spartan's instinct. His survival radar kicks in immediately. Spartan gets yet another chance to go full Demolition Man, and he's solving the problems the only way he knows how. But here's the kicker. Once he realizes they're not targeting civilians, his entire posture changes. He's starting to see the cracks in this perfect system. And Phoenix's meeting with Cocteau lets us know that they created a monster, equipped him with the most effective and dangerous skills available, and they thought they were aiming him at a target. But they made one major mistake. They left Phoenix with free will, and he is a pure villain at heart.
Let's take a trip.
Let's take a moment right here to recognize everything that 1996 promised to us. Self-driving vehicles, live video calls, virtual reality headsets, voice command technology. I mean, this movie had it all. And watching it back, to me, a lot of things seemed normal. They didn't really stick out because we have them now. But I had to remember that this was 96. So you got to think, were these things just inevitable, or were these actually the things that stoked the imagination of some people to create what came first? And the absurdity around those intimacy headsets, I don't even want to go into. This society has removed almost everything about being human from humanity. And it's at this point where Spartan stops reacting to the situation. He actually becomes proactive, and his investigation leads to a key point in all of this mess. Spartan uncovers the truth. Phoenix was not only thawed, he was programmed during the cryo with advanced combat knowledge, weapons training, and tactical data. Phoenix was deliberately equipped to be more dangerous than before. Realizing that Phoenix is hunting Edward Friendly, Spartan decides he has to reach Friendly first, so he heads below ground. Spartan quickly encounters Friendly, and the two speak directly and recognize they share the same enemies, Raymond Cocteau and Simon Phoenix. At the same time, Phoenix has a meeting of minds with the other thawed criminals. He also realizes that both Spartan and Friendly are directly in his crosshairs. Phoenix attacks immediately. Gunfire erupts in the tunnels. Spartan and Friendly fight back as Phoenix fires without hesitation. Phoenix eventually breaks contact and escapes above ground. He steals a police vehicle and Spartan pursues him, taking control of a restored muscle car. A high-speed chase follows through the city streets. Phoenix maneuvers aggressively and gains the advantage. Spartan is forced into a violent crash and is left incapacitated in his vehicle. His life is saved by the automated safety systems built into the future car, but nonetheless, Phoenix escapes yet again. This movie did a pretty decent job at showing us Phoenix's capabilities, but I really wish they went a little bit more in depth into what he was capable of. I realized he was whooping up on Spartan something fierce, but if they would have actually shown us a true show of strength, something that a normal man couldn't do, I think that would have spoke volumes into letting us realize how outclassed Spartan was by Phoenix. And I honestly believe that Snipes was capable of portraying anything they could throw at him. And both of our characters escaping into the underground, I can tell that this is the first time that they felt comfortable in 2032. I mean, you'd have to really be comfortable to eat a burger de la rata. And what was any good 90s movie without a car chase? And I'm wondering, is this the very first 90s car chase that took place in an automated vehicle? I'm gonna have to do a little research on that. Spartan reunites with Friendly and his people above ground. He's re-equipped and decides the only way to end this is at the SAPD headquarters. But before Spartan arrives, Phoenix confronts Cocteau. Bound by the programming that prevents him from killing Cocteau directly, Phoenix manipulates another person into pulling the trigger. Spartan and Huxley arrive at the SAPD headquarters and are immediately confronted by two of the newly thawed criminals. They eliminate those threats and discover that Cocteau is dead. Spartan decides to continue alone. He disables Huxley using one of her incapacitation devices and prevents her from following. Phoenix is inside the cryogenics facility attempting to thaw dozens of violent criminals. When the process becomes automated, Phoenix kills the remaining cryogenic staff. Spartan enters the facility and confronts him. The two engage in a final physical fight that tears through the room and damages the cryo equipment around them. Spartan gains control of the fight, drenches Phoenix in hydraulic fluid and forces him into freezing conditions. Phoenix's body freezes solid. Spartan shatters him, ending the confrontation. Then he exits the building only moments before it detonates. With Cocteau gone and Phoenix destroyed, the future of San Angeles is left open to change. I do not understand how Cocteau thinking that making Simon Phoenix a super genius and him not finding a loophole to taking him out was ever going to work. They built this man outside of the system. No controls, no safeguards, just a madman with every available tool at the tip of his fingers. I don't know if it's kind of poetic, and I'd have to assume it was intentional that the first fight was around fire and the second one was ice. And again, as all the Flix Fam know, I love the practical effects. So when Simon Phoenix freezes and Spartan swings around and kicks his head off, chef's kiss. And what's a 90s action movie without finishing with an explosion, right? And a kiss for that matter. And now that the Puppet Master is gone, I'm really wondering what's in store for San Angeles. This is one of those movies where I would have kind of liked to see a sequel, but I really don't know how they would have pulled that off. But anyhow, and that was Demolition Man. A future that tried to erase conflict and a villain that thrived in it, and a cop who realized that balance is sometimes matching the chaos. Snipes brought a lot of charisma to this one. Loud, stylish, and unpredictable. From street-level intensity to futuristic warfare, Snipe season has been about presence, but I'm not done yet. We've seen him as a wild card, we've seen him as a threat. Now we're about to see him as something else entirely. Next up, the final chapter of Snipe season. Blade. Different tone, different world, same intensity. And if you've been rocking with me through Snipe season, you don't want to miss the finale. So if you like this review, be sure to check out my others. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell, and share it with someone you know who loves retro reviews. I'm Jay, and I'll see you next time when we get back to the flicks.
We're going back to the flicks, rewind the mix. 80s flicks, SANITIZED in the Netflix fix. Reliving those days with the little ones amazed in this retro wave. Old classics paved the way. Back to the flicks, rewind the mix. 80s flicks, SANITIZED in the Netflix fix. Reliving those days with the little ones amazed in this retro wave. Old classics paved the way.